for the 505 time certain public hearing on the budget. And I'm going to go to the 12A on the list. And I'll tell you what, before we do, I missed an item this morning. I think we're going to go ahead and hear it first. It was page 288 in your agenda. It was an email from Tia Atkinson concerning
affordable housing.
Yes, saying that in a recent training event that we're supposed to have somebody on affordable housing. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. We need to have one of the elected board members as part of the AHAC committee.
Okay, with me up for re-election and Commissioner Harvey taking on just about everything that there was this morning to take on, we at least for temporarily, is this something I appoint, Rich, or is this something that that I ask the commission to give us a motion on? How do I go from here?
Other places I work, the commission takes a motion, but a lot of things here are at the discretion of the chair. So okay. I would look for volunteers at this point.
Okay, Commissioner Pickens, would you volunteer to do this at least temporarily? You're muted.
That was probably a good thing with what I was saying. Is this I guess there is a webinar on 29th at 3 p.m.
Yes, sir. There's a training.
This group makes recommendations on affordable housing needs to the commission.
Any idea how long it is? I'm going on vacation, guys.
The webinar, I don't know.
I'll do it. That's fine.
If not, I'll do it.
I probably need a break from walking on a waterfall and going to see a waterfall anyway. I'll do it temporarily.
Okay. Well, thank you for doing that. And so with him admitting that he'd do it, I'll appoint Commissioner Pickens.
If not, I can do it.
At least temporarily. I think he accepted. Thank you very much for the volunteering, Commissioner Rawls, but I think Commissioner Pickens is going to try and do it.
Okay.
But I do appreciate the volunteering. With that, we're going to move in on the item 12A on the list, which is adopting the final levy of the ad valorem taxes fiscal year 2021. It's 289 to 291 on your packet, and I'm going to turn it over to Matt.
Yes, sir. I included information in the agenda item summary for changes that have been made to the budget since it was tentatively adopted on September 8th. There was a slight increase in the allocation for the property appraiser that was approved by the Department of Revenue, and I had to adjust county commissioners' personnel budget due to the increase in pay for county constitutional officers and elected officials that the state adopted. The other change that I made was, of course, the allocation to the sheriff's office, the additional $700,000 that was discussed at the workshop. And I included the capital recommendations that we talked about at the workshop as well. So those have been the only changes since September 8th. And so it'll be just like September 8th. There is a sheet on page 290 that gives the motions that need to be done down under number 6, 7, and 8. It gives language and what has to be read into the record.
Okay, Matt, would it be possible at this time, because when we end up going through these are the motions from A, B, and C. So on the list, would you at this time, before we start the motioning, bring up the what we had discussed earlier about that the $6 million around, I'm talking in general monies, but the $6 million that was reported in the paper that was an addition to addition to the budget amount from last year, that there's a big portion of that under the agreement with Georgia Pacific, that the county has to refund that money for them to bring that paper machine here to Putnam County. And this is the first year that they're paying taxes on it. And so it's the first year that we have to refund. I believe it's 90% of the additional taxes that they had to pay in order for them to entice them to bring that machine. So if you could discuss that a little bit, I'd appreciate it.
Sure.
Just
Yep, absolutely.
the papers on, and we can get them to print it as part of the article that part of this budget money is the money that goes back to Georgia Pacific, and we did not have a $6 million budget increase.
Yep. And actually, you know, the amount that the budget was going up, it showed in the ad in the paper that the budget was up 19.5%. But if you remember back on the budget workshop that we did on July 13th, there was a slide in there, slide number 5. I've got it pulled up here, and it explains 18 million of the increase right off the bat. One of the increases was in the general fund, and that's what you're referencing regarding about $5.5 million more in ad valorem taxes. But 4.2 million of that has to go back to GP per that economic development agreement that the county commission signed several years ago now. I think that was back in 2016 or 17.
Correct.
And so that is actually brought into the general fund. It's then transferred out of the general fund into the economic development fund. So really, the money is counted essentially twice. So it's $4.2 million increase in the general fund, and it's also a $4.2 million increase in the economic development fund. So the total impact to the total budget is $8.4 million of that increase. But the remainder of the increases to the budget, the substantial portion of it is all balanced forward. For example, sanitation fund was 4.6 million. Balance forward in the fire fund was up 1.1 million. The balance forward in the general fund was up 1.5 million. So all of those add up, as well as a lot of carry forward projects. That was also a changes to the budget since July worksheet that I gave the commission on September 8th. It showed everything, all of the line item detail changes from that date. For example, in the Better Place Fund, the Dirt to Pave project for this fiscal year that is out to bid now is going to carry forward, obviously, in the next fiscal year. That was almost a $3 million impact. So, you know, those things play into that total increase when you look at the total budget. And we have, of course, had other projects in the Capital Projects Fund and the Road and Drainage Fund that are being carried forward. So that's the reason for those increases.
Okay, like I said, I just thought that it needed to be part of this conversation, that we didn't have the tax increase that it seemed like with the money, the ad that was placed in the paper, that the actual increase was around 1.7, I think it was, and then before we had to take the monies that were committed out of that. Commissioner Harvey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was chairman of the board at the time we signed the agreement with Georgia Pacific, and it was also tied to jobs. And keeping this mill, keeping more jobs, keeping more assets is a good thing for Putnam County. And make no mistake, we were competing against other mills that wanted that paper machine. And the worst thing we could have done was not give incentives for them to be able to stay here in Putnam County. Some people think they wouldn't have left, but I couldn't have been sure of that, and neither could the board at that time. So we did the right thing, and we offered them incentives, and they accepted them, and we're seeing the benefits of that now. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Harvey, please rest assured that I wasn't second guessing y'all before we got here, because I was totally on board with what we did and still am. That because I do believe that they wouldn't have stayed for an extended period of time without the additional investment in the mill. And we didn't we didn't give them any of the taxes that they were already paying. All we did was give them a percentage of the additional taxes.
That's correct.
That they paid that they wouldn't have paid if they didn't build a paper machine here. So I think it was an excellent move for the community and an excellent move for the county. And that certainly isn't why I was trying to bring that up.
No.
I just wanted to set the record straight that the money that it showed in the paper that we got, we did not get.
That's right.
We ended up getting about 1.7, and out of that is what we did the raises on, funded the constitutionals, and the money that was left we gave to the sheriff, all but $93,000 of those additional monies. And so
Correct.
it's just we did not get all the additional monies that they made out that we got in the rhetoric from the paper and what have you. So I asked Matt to be able to discuss that with us. Does anybody have any other discussions concerning the budget before we move into the motions required?
I do have a couple questions.
Commissioner Rawls?
Matt, why move the money to EDF? Was that just to park it there and so nobody touched it, or?
No, that's the fund that it'll be paid out of back to Georgia Pacific once they submit the required paperwork to show that they've created the jobs and whatnot.
Okay. And then the other question was, looking at the CIP, you got the Tolls Road project on East Tolls Road. It shows up in this budget. It was already budgeted and paid for last year. And it's not shown as a carry forward. What is the purpose of that?
Well, yeah, and I should have added the words in after that as Tolls Road as a carry forward.
It is a carry forward. Okay.
It is a carry forward.
Okay. All right. I'm good.
Mr. Chairman, I think you need public comment before we start the motion.
Yes, sir. That'll be fine. Is there anybody on the call that would like to have public comment on the budget issue? Hearing none, we'll move out of public comment section of this hearing and move into request for motions.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we pass the resolution adopting the final millage for fiscal year 2020-21. Item A, the fiscal year 2021 Putnam County wide operating millage rate of 9.5946 mils, which is the same as last year's millage rate, but 7.19% higher than the rollback rate of 8.9511 mils. Item B, the fiscal year 2020-21 Putnam County non-countywide operating millage rate for the fire tax unit, municipal service taxing unit of 1.1000 mils, which is the same as last year's millage rate. This rate is 5.7% higher than the rollback rate of 1.0402 mils. Item C, together the aggregate millage is 10.5588 mils, which is 7.15% higher than the aggregate rollback rate of 9.8539 mils.
I'll second.
And we have a motion by Commissioner Harvey and a second by Commissioner Goddard as read. Is there any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt the fiscal year 2021 total budget all funds of $160,865,113.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Harvey and a second by Commissioner Goddard. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Chairman, I move to pass the capital improvement plan as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Harvey and a second by Commissioner Goddard to pass the capital plan as presented. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Is there anything additional to come before the board this afternoon? Hearing none, this meeting is hereby adjourned.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.